There are moments in life when everything collapses, when the doors close, the people you trusted turn their backs, and you walk away with empty hands and a heart full of questions. But sometimes, losing everything isn't punishment, it's preparation. Today's story reminds us that when the world pushes you out, God prepares a place for you that no one can shut down, no one can claim, and no one can take away. Stay until the end. Chapter 10 will touch your soul. There are seasons when rejection feels like the end of your value, the end of your dreams, and the end of your confidence. He stood there watching everything he built fall apart, left with nothing but the clothes he wore and the tears he tried to hide. The world that once clapped for him suddenly turned silent. The same hands that shook his hand in celebration were nowhere to be found when he stumbled. Some people whispered behind his back as if his fall was entertainment. Others laughed, pointing at his loss like it was proof that he was never worthy in the first place. His heart broke quietly, and his soul trembled as he walked away, carrying pain no one could see, but God could feel. Every broken piece of his heart felt like proof that life had failed him, and every silent night made him wonder if God had forgotten his name. Sometimes, the nights are longer than the days, and the silence is louder than the noise. But what he didn't know was that every tear was watering seeds he didn't even know were planted. Sometimes God allows rejection to redirect you to the place you truly belong. What feels like loss is often a divine invitation into something greater, something hidden, something prepared long before the first tear fell. He didn't understand it yet, but heaven was already moving on his behalf before the world turned its back. Rejection does not define you, it positions you. When people close their doors, God begins building new ones. When life says there is no room for you, God whispers, "I am preparing a place only for you." He walked away wounded, but he walked away chosen. He walked away empty, but he walked away ready for something greater. The storm may have pushed him out, but destiny was pulling him in. The pain was real, the sadness was deep, but the calling was stronger than both. Sometimes God removes you from where you are celebrated falsely to bring you into a place where you will be established truthfully. Rejection isn't humiliation, it is purification. It strips away what isn't meant for your future and cleanses what was blocking your blessing. The crushing season wasn't to destroy him, it was to prepare him. Because when God restores, he restores better than before. When God elevates, he elevates beyond expectation. What man takes away, God replaces with something no one can touch. God never wastes pain, and he never abandons his child in the valley. The rejection was not the end. It was the doorway to destiny. As he walked away, he felt completely alone, abandoned, betrayed, forgotten like a leaf blowing in the wind without direction. The silence around him felt heavier than words, and loneliness wrapped itself around his soul like a cold blanket. Every step felt like 1,000 miles, and every breath felt like a fight to stay standing. Yet even in that silence, God was speaking, quietly, gently, through the stillness of the air and the faint hope refusing to die in his chest. Sometimes God hides his presence not because he is gone, but because he is teaching you to hear him even in the quiet. He had nothing left, no home, no support, no certainty. The streets felt unfamiliar, the sky felt distant, and the future felt like a fog he couldn't see through. But he still had one thing: faith. Even if it was small, fragile, and trembling. Sometimes God isolates you not to punish you, but to strengthen you. Isolation is the training ground of warriors, the birthplace of prophets, and the soil where champions grow. When everyone leaves, God steps in. When every voice disappears, his voice becomes clearer. The loneliness is not abandonment, it is a sacred season where God becomes your closest companion. Every tear he shed watered seeds God planted long before the heartbreak. Every step he took without knowing where it would lead showed heaven that he still trusted the one guiding him. The world saw a man alone, but heaven saw a soldier being refined in the fire. When people vanish, God draws nearer. When life becomes heavy, God lifts. When hearts break, God rebuilds.
He may have felt forsaken, but heaven never took its eyes off him, not for a moment. He was alone, but he was never abandoned. God was closer than the breath in his lungs, closer than the pain in his chest, closer than the doubt in his mind. In the quiet, God whispered, "I am here. I have not forgotten you. I am writing a story only I can finish." What looked like defeat was actually divine preparation. What felt like emptiness was actually room for a miracle. In solitude, God doesn't just comfort you, he transforms you. The valley wasn't punishment, it was the birthplace of his calling. And soon he would realize that what looked like abandonment was actually God hiding him for protection until his perfect timing arrived. Life in the valley is confusing, unpredictable, and heavy. Every day feels like a battle between faith and fear. He didn't wake up to applause, success, or encouragement. He woke up to silence, to questions, to the weight of a future he couldn't see but still hoped for. The valley is where dreams feel distant and fear sits on your shoulders like a heavy stone. He walked through days where hope felt like a whisper and fear felt like a scream. Yet he kept putting one foot in front of the other because something deep inside refused to die. This valley was not a punishment. It was a classroom. God was teaching him how to stand when support disappears, how to pray when answers delay, how to trust when vision is blurry. He learned that faith isn't proven on the mountaintop. Faith is proven in the valley, where everything looks impossible. The valley is where pride falls, humility rises, and identity becomes rooted not in achievement, but in God alone. It was there he discovered that comfort never creates warriors, wilderness does. Nothing made sense yet, but God is a master of silent preparation. Heaven was building capacity inside him. God was stretching his spirit, sharpening his character, and strengthening his foundation. When your life feels like it's falling apart, heaven is often fitting the pieces together in a way you never imagined. What looked like delay was divine timing. What looked like emptiness was spiritual shaping. Destiny often hides in discomfort, and purpose often begins in places you'd never choose. And so he kept walking, not because he understood everything, but because he trusted the one leading him. Sometimes faith isn't loud. Sometimes it's a quiet breath that says, "Lord, I don't see it yet, but I believe." The valley didn't break him. It built him. Every uncertain step was training. Every silent prayer was heard. Every moment of doubt became fuel for deeper trust. The valley was not the end. It was the sacred hallway between where he was and where God was taking him. There were moments when going back seemed easier. Moments when the pain felt unbearable and the unknown felt overwhelming. Sometimes the past calls not because it was better, but because it was familiar. He remembered the comfort, the faces, the routines, and the safety, even if that safety was a prison disguised as peace. The enemy loves to make the old life look attractive when God is leading you into a new season. But comfort can trap you, and returning can destroy what God is trying to create inside you. Voices from the past tried to pull him back, voices saying he would never rise again, voices saying he was safer where he came from, voices reminding him of his failures more than his potential. The enemy never fights you over where you've been, he fights you over where you're going.
And when you are closest to breakthrough, familiar places begin to look appealing again. Doubt whispers, fear rises, nostalgia lies, but destiny does not live in reverse. It lives forward. He almost turned around, but then something holy stirred inside him, a reminder that going back meant shrinking, surrendering, settling. The same God who moved him would sustain him. The same God who guided him out would guide him forward. He wiped his tears, lifted his head, and took a deep breath. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is refusing to bow to it. Sometimes strength is not loud. Sometimes strength is a quiet, "I will not return to what God delivered me from."
He didn't know what waited ahead, but he knew what waited behind: broken promises, small dreams, false security, and a ceiling too low for his calling. God does not recycle old cages for new purpose. When God delivers you, it is because He has prepared a life bigger than your memories and deeper than your past. So he moved forward again, trembling, unsure, but obedient, because destiny is never found in retreat and miracles never happen in reverse. He chose the path of faith, not familiarity, knowing God was building something no past could compete with. Faith is not always loud. Faith does not always roar with confidence or stand tall without shaking. Sometimes faith whispers, sometimes it trembles, sometimes it barely stands, yet God honors it anyway. He woke up some mornings feeling strong, believing with boldness, convinced that breakthrough was near. But other mornings, he could barely lift his head, barely form a prayer, barely hold on to hope. It felt like his faith was leaking through cracks in his heart, and fear kept trying to take its place. Yet even weak faith is powerful when placed in strong hands, the hands of God. There were nights when doubt screamed louder than hope, when tears felt heavier than promises, when he wondered if God truly saw him or if heaven had gone silent. He wasn't losing faith, he was learning dependence. Faith is not the absence of struggle. Faith is choosing God despite struggle. God does not require perfection, He requires surrender. And even when his confidence wavered, his soul still whispered, "Lord, I need you." That whisper was worship. That whisper was warfare. That whisper was faith in its purest form. Every step he took in weakness was a victory in heaven's eyes. The world celebrates strength, but heaven celebrates obedience. The enemy wanted him to quit, wanted him to drown in discouragement, wanted him to believe that weakness meant failure. But God delights in weak vessels, because when strength returns, there is no confusion about where it came from. Strength is borrowed. Courage is gifted. Endurance comes from God alone. Every tear became a prayer. Every sigh became worship. Every doubt became a doorway to deeper trust. In the moments where his heart felt tired and his spirit felt empty, he discovered a secret. Faith isn't measured by how strong you feel. Faith is measured by the fact that you refuse to let go. The God who sustains the universe sustains his children too. So he stood again, walked again, prayed again, believed again, not because he was strong, but because God was faithful. Weak faith in a mighty God is still unstoppable, and what begins trembling ends triumphant when grace carries the weight. Just when he thought the road stretched endlessly before him and the desert season would never end, heaven moved. God does not always show you when the breakthrough is coming. He simply asks you to keep walking until it appears. And then, suddenly, a door opened. Not a door he forced, not a door he chased, not a door others tried to block. A door built by God, reserved by grace, designed specifically for the one who endured. When God opens a door, no one can shut it, no system can deny it, and no enemy can sabotage it. It didn't look like what he expected. It was better, quieter, holier, more perfect than rushing blessings people can offer. God opened an opportunity that aligned with his purpose, not his comfort. The very skills he learned in silence became the tools for his new season. The humility he gained in brokenness became the foundation of his elevation. The strength he gained through tears became his testimony. The door didn't open early, it opened right on heaven's time. God is never late, he is precise. People who once ignored him suddenly remembered his name. Situations that once seemed impossible suddenly aligned. The favor he now had could not be explained by talent alone. It was grace. It was destiny. It was an appointment written before he was born. What man rejected, God selected. What man tried to bury, God resurrected. When heaven breathes on your journey, things shift in ways no human hand can orchestrate. It wasn't coincidence, it was covenant. He didn't need to beg, compromise, or prove himself. The blessing came to him because God prepared it for him. And this time he walked into his opportunity with quiet confidence, wounded humility, deep gratitude, and holy boldness, knowing what he had now wasn't temporary or fragile. This was God's doing, and if God brought him to it, God would carry him through it. This was not just a door, this was destiny activated. His new chapter had begun. Blessings without foundation collapse, and elevation without preparation destroys. God did not simply open a door, He began building him into the person who could walk through it and stay. This season wasn't about speed, it was about structure. God was not rushing, because rushed blessings crumble faster than they rise. Brick by brick, prayer by prayer, tier by tier, God was shaping him into a vessel capable of carrying the weight of destiny. Every moment of struggle became spiritual mortar. Every sacrifice became stone. Every humble choice became steel beams in the architecture of his future. He learned that success built on ego falls, but success built on surrender stands. He realized that God doesn't just lift you, He roots you. Deep roots take time. Deep foundations are dug in secret, in silence, in seasons where no one applauds you. God was teaching him to stand when storms blow, to praise when critics speak, to remain humble when doors open. Blessings can attract attention, but character sustains destiny. And character is forged, not given. He didn't only gain opportunity, he gained discipline, wisdom, patience, and gratitude. This season revealed truth. Promotion from God doesn't just elevate, it transforms. The same pain that once felt unbearable now made him unshakable. The same loneliness that once broke him now anchored him in God, not people. He learned to rely on grace, not validation, on faith, not human opinion. When God builds, He builds eternally, and God was building him not for a moment, but for a lifetime, not for applause, but for assignment, not for visibility, but for victory. When God lays the foundation, storms don't destroy, they confirm strength. Trials don't break, they reveal the depth of God's workmanship. And now beneath every step he took was stability heaven-crafted. His faith was not shallow, his character was not fragile, his devotion was not temporary. He was no longer just someone who survived the valley, he was someone God equipped for destiny. A foundation only God could build, and no hand on earth could shake. Then the moment came, he walked into what God had prepared, and it felt different. This was not a borrowed blessing, not a fragile opportunity, not a temporary victory. This was promise fulfilled. This was destiny manifested. It did not come through manipulation, compromise, or pleasing people. It came through surrender, prayer, and divine favor. He stepped into a place only grace could open, only faith could sustain, and only God could deliver. And there, peace settled in his spirit like sunlight resting on still waters.
The place God prepared wasn't only physical. It was spiritual stability, emotional strength, mental clarity, and purpose unlocked. This blessing had his name on it from eternity. No jealousy could steal it, no enemy could touch it, no betrayal could undo it. When God marks something for you, even hell can't interfere. He realized the season of being pushed out was never rejection, it was redirection. The hands that tried to shut him out unknowingly pushed him toward God's prepared place. And now, people looked at him and wondered how he made it, how he rose, how he found strength. But he knew the answer wasn't talent, wasn't luck, wasn't connections. It was God. It was grace. It was covenant. It was divine orchestration. What he received didn't just elevate him, it humbled him. He didn't come in shouting, he came in grateful. He didn't come in seeking revenge, he came in radiating peace. He didn't boast, he worshiped. His heart whispered, "Thank you, Lord," because what stood before him was not just success, it was proof that God never abandons his children. He had been kicked out with nothing, but he walked into a future nobody could take. Closed doors didn't bury him, they birthed him into destiny. Loss didn't defeat him, it cleared space for glory. What man rejected, God protected. What man blocked, God blessed. And now he stands in a room built by heaven, secured by grace, untouched by hands of envy or doubt. This was not revenge, this was redemption. Not man's approval, God's appointment. The place no one could take had finally arrived. He looked back, not with bitterness, not with anger, not with regret, but with gratitude. The same road that once felt unbearable now looked beautiful because he could finally see the purpose behind the pain. He remembered the days when hope felt thin, when tears fell silently into his pillow, when he wondered if God truly had a plan. Now, standing in a place built by grace, he realized that every tear was necessary. Every trial was preparation, every delay was protection, and every disappointment was divine redirection. He saw the journey differently now. The rejection that once crushed him had become the doorway to transformation. The loneliness that once frightened him had become the school of intimacy with God. The silence that once hurt him had become the space where he learned to hear God's whisper. He was not the same man. Pain refined him, wilderness shaped him, grace rebuilt him. Sometimes we thank God for open doors, but the mature soul also thanks Him for the doors He closed, because closed doors saved us just as much as opened ones blessed us. As he reflected, gratitude overflowed like a river swelling after winter melts into spring. Gratitude for the valleys, gratitude for the hard lessons, gratitude for the nights he felt empty, because those were the nights God filled him with Himself. He realized the blessing wasn't just the place, the blessing was the person he had become. God did not only change his circumstances, God changed his heart. God didn't just bring him somewhere new, God made him someone new. He smiled, not because life was perfect, but because peace had replaced panic, purpose had replaced confusion, and gratitude had replaced frustration. He whispered, "Thank you, Lord," not because he forgot the pain, but because now he understood it. The scar that once hurt now testified. The valley that once overwhelmed now revealed victory. Gratitude became worship, worship became strength, and strength became testimony. Looking back was no longer painful, it was powerful. And now the story speaks, not to glorify him, but to glorify the God who never left him. Today he stands not as someone who lost everything, but as someone who gained something eternal, a blessing no one can take, a future no one can block, a peace no one can steal. He stands as proof that when people push you away, God pulls you close. When people reject you, God selects you. When people doubt you, heaven confirms you. His life became a testimony that man can remove you from a seat, but only God can seat you in purpose. And now this message is for you. Yes, you listening, broken, hopeful, tired, believing, doubting, fighting, praying, waiting. If you feel rejected, if you feel forgotten, if you feel like doors are closing and the world has moved without you, do not quit. God is not finished. The pain you feel is not a tomb. It is a womb. Something is being birthed. You are not being destroyed. You are being prepared. What you lost was temporary. What God is building is eternal. What left your life was meant to leave. What God has for you will never pass you by. So lift your head, dry your tears, step forward in faith even if your steps shake. The same God who carried him will carry you. The same God who opened doors for him will open doors for you. The same God who turned pain into power for him will turn your valley into victory. Your story is not over. It's just beginning. God is preparing a place with your name on it, a chapter no one can rewrite, a blessing no one can erase. And when you arrive,
you will look back and say, "If I had not been pushed out, I would have never been lifted up." Your tears matter. Your prayers matter. Your faith matters even when it feels small. You are seen. You are chosen. You are held by the Creator of the universe. No matter who walked away, God remained. No matter who closed the door, God built a better one. No matter who doubted you, heaven has already called you. So walk in confidence, not because you have everything figured out, but because God already finished what He started in you. And one day, your story will become someone else's hope. Your testimony will become someone else's strength. And your victory will prove that God wastes nothing.